Once in the heart of a busy Abuja, where skyscrapers kissed the clouds and street hawkers' voices filled the air, there lived a young woman named Amara. She was the kind of person who could walk into a room quietly, yet somehow change the atmosphere with her presence. But on the day her story began, nobody noticed her because all they could see were her clothes. Amara was gentle, humble, and full of grace. Though she was only 28, she carried herself with the quiet confidence of someone who had walked through life's storms and learned how to dance in the rain. She was the owner of Golden Loom, one of the city's fastest growing fashion brands. But here's the thing, Amara hated showing off. She didn't live in a mansion, she stayed in a modest apartment. She didn't drive a flashy car, she preferred a small, reliable one. On this particular morning, Amara had just returned from a week in a rural village where she'd been training young women in tailoring for free. Her clothes were plain, her shoes dusty, and the wrapper around her waist was torn at the hem. She hadn't planned to meet anyone important. She was simply on her way to pick up fabric at the market. The city market was alive with energy. Roasted corn sizzling on charcoal, women calling out their prices for fresh tomatoes, and the rhythmic beat of a talking drum somewhere in the distance. Amara moved from stall to stall, greeting traders with a smile. But soon, a group of well-dressed young women sitting at a cafe nearby noticed her. They giggled and whispered. Their laughter wasn't the warm, joyful kind. It was sharp and cold, like a blade. "Look at that wrapper," one said loudly enough for Amara to hear. Hmm, maybe she found it in the dustbin, another added. "And those shoes? My house girl has better." Their words hung in the air like smoke. People nearby chuckled under their breath. Amara kept her head high, but her heart ached. She knew the sting of judgment. It was something even the strongest soul could feel. Among the women at the cafe was Chika, the self-proclaimed queen of the fashion scene on social media. Chika was known for her glittering outfits and equally glittering attitude. She thrived on being the center of attention, and anyone who didn't match her standard of glamour was simply invisible, or worse, a target. Chika sipped her iced drink, eyeing Amara like a lioness sizing up prey. "Someone like that can never know style," she said with a smirk. "Some people just aren't meant for fashion." What the women didn't know was that Amara's torn wrapper was an old design from her very first clothing line, the one that had given her the money to start Golden Loom. She wore it not out of poverty, but as a reminder of where she'd come from. As she continued shopping, the women's laughter followed her, but Amara said nothing. She had learned long ago that sometimes silence could speak louder than words. Later that week, fate decided to stir the pot. The city's biggest fashion exhibition, an event attended by designers, influencers, and journalists, was scheduled to take place. And guess who had been secretly invited as the headline designer? Amara. The day of the exhibition arrived. The venue was a sea of colors and flashing cameras. Models floated down the runway in breathtaking outfits. Flowing Ankara gowns, sharply tailored agbadas, and beaded accessories that shimmered under the lights. Backstage, Chika was there, wearing a sequined dress that sparkled like the night sky. She was chatting loudly, making sure everyone heard her latest gossip. Then, the announcer's voice echoed through the hall. "Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's special collection is brought to you by the creative genius and founder of Golden Loom. Please welcome Amara Nwosu." The crowd erupted in applause as Amara stepped onto the runway. But this time, she was unrecognizable. She wore an elegant gown of golden silk, adorned with hand-stitched beadwork. Her hair was wrapped in a regal gel, and the confidence in her stride made her shine brighter than the lights above. Gasps rippled through the audience. The women from the cafe froze in shock. Chika's smile faltered. She whispered to the person next to her, "That's her?" Yes. The same woman they had mocked for her torn wrapper now stood before them as the celebrated designer of the night. After the show, reporters rushed to interview Amara. She spoke with grace, thanking her team and expressing her passion for creating opportunities for young tailors in rural areas. She ended with a story, the story of her torn wrapper, and how it reminded her never to forget her roots. Somewhere in the crowd, the women who had mocked her listened in silence. They couldn't meet her eyes. Chika eventually approached her, forcing a smile. "I didn't realize who you were. Your work is beautiful." Amara simply replied, "It's not who I am that matters. It's how we treat people when we think they are no one." Then she turned and walked away, her head held high. In the words of an old African proverb, a person is not measured by the clothes they wear, but by the heart they carry. Never judge someone by what you see on the surface, for behind the simplest appearance, there may be a story of greatness you cannot imagine. My dear friends, if this story has touched your heart, do not let it end here. Share it with your friends and family, for wisdom grows when it is passed from ear to ear. And if you want more tales like this, rich, with lessons and laughter, click the subscribe button, tap the bell, and join our family of listeners. I thank you, my dear listeners, for lending me your ears and your hearts today. May your days be filled with kindness, your paths with wisdom, and your homes with joy. Until we meet again in the next story, I am wishing you peace, love, and plenty of reasons to smile. Bye for now.